Hey, I'm SJ and this is the Menopause and Motherhood podcast. Hey friend, today's episode is all about creatine. And this is probably something that you've definitely come across. You've probably heard people talking about it. And I'm going to talk about the benefits, the pros, the cons of creatine, and how it could potentially help you through perimenopause and menopause. Now, before we get started, I invite you to go and check out the show notes. I always have some amazing links to some of the wonderful supplements that I use. There is a special code in the show notes as well that will give you 10% off. And there is also the link to my website. So if you want to get in touch or if you're interested in doing some one-to-one coaching with me, learning anything about Canicross, you can find all of the information in there. Now, all of that aside, how are you doing? How are you feeling? We are in the first week of the Easter holidays here in the UK. The kids get 2 weeks off, and I have to say I am quite glad that last week is over. I haven't told you this, but I'm going to share something with you that I have not put across social media, and nor do I intend to, because I am actually running as a candidate in the local elections here in the UK that are on the 1st of May, and I have been campaigning, and this is not something that I ever thought that I was going to do, but I felt God put it in my heart. I felt that I needed to stop shouting at the television and the news, and I really felt that I needed to walk out in faith, take a step out in faith and put myself forward and to potentially do my bit to support my local area, to do something good. And it has been a challenge. And last week was definitely hard work. I have probably walked about 20,000 steps every single day, which I calculated to be somewhere about 9 to 10 miles a day, which is just bonkers. And I haven't really, as a result, done an awful lot of workouts because I've been doing such high mileage walking, and I have felt exhausted. A level of tired that I haven't felt before, a level of tired from physical but also mental exhaustion. So I'm very glad that week is over. That was a really intense week. We have a postal voting system here in the UK, and it was really important for me to get out some personalised letters to the people in my community to tell them who I was, what I'm doing. But it really made me realise throughout these stressful times how important the food that we eat is and how we can really actually help and support our bodies when it comes to supplements as well. And something that I've been sort of going in and out with is this supplement called creatine. So I thought I would talk to you a little bit about creatine because I really felt that it has helped me this past week, as well as some of the other products that I use. And I'm going to talk about those too. But I really wanted to dig into this idea of creatine, which you may have seen, maybe your husband, if you've got older children, maybe your son uses it. It has this sort of use often for like bodybuilders, but today we're going to have a look at it, see what it does, why it exists, talk about some of the research behind it, and then see whether that's something that you might want to try to support you as you are going through perimenopause. You will have noticed that I have titled this podcast Creatine, the underrated powerhouse for perimenopausal women. And I do think it's fair to give it that sort of acknowledgement because it really, really can be a really helpful supplement. Now, before you hit pause on this podcast and you start thinking, well, creatine isn't that just for bodybuilders? Well, we're actually going to unpack why creatine might be one of the most beneficial, affordable and underutilized supplements that we as women can use when we're going through perimenopause. Because I don't know about you, there are so many supplements out there. If you walk into any kind of like health food store, We have one in the UK called Holland and Barrett. And you go into that store and there is just so much stuff and you don't know where to start. There's a lot of like menopause supplements and that sort of thing. But creatine is something that is really simple. It's quite straightforward. And you will be pleased to know there is a lot of research that has been done around creatine as well. So let's talk first of all about what actually creatine is. So it's a naturally occurring compound that our bodies make from amino acids. We store most of it in our muscles and we use that to help produce energy, and specifically energy for quick, intense bursts. So things like lifting weights, sprinting, or even powering through like a HIIT class or something. It's also found, it's a compound that you can find in small amounts of food like red meat and seafood. But most people, particularly those who are eating a mostly plant-based diet, do not get optimal levels of creatine through food alone. So let's talk about creatine and perimenopause. So we know that perimenopause is this transition period where our hormones are fluctuating. We notice things like a loss of lean muscle mass. We feel more tired. We often get mood swings. We can experience brain fog and also a decrease in bone density. And we've spoken on this podcast quite a few times around those particular symptoms. But this is where creatine can actually come in useful for us, because there are some real life benefits to it, particularly for us as perimenopausal women. So first of all, one of the key benefits of creatine is that it can help with our muscle strength and our lean muscle mass. So we know that when our estrogen levels drop, our body loses its ability to maintain muscle. Now, creatine can actually help by giving your muscles more energy to contract, especially during resistance training. Now, on this podcast, I've spoken before about the importance of doing resistance training for us as perimenopausal and menopausal women, for any woman, full stop. So creatine is going to help you when you are doing resistance training. And this is why you do see the bodybuilders using it. And when it's paired with this strength training, it can actually really help to preserve and even build muscle mass in perimenopausal and post-menopausal women. So this is important because it's not just about looking toned, because we know that we are more likely to gain fat around our abdomen, but it's also really important for your metabolism, for your bone health, and your ability to stay active and independent as you age. And that for me is something I feel is really, really important. Okay, benefit number 2 is your brain health and supporting your mood. So this is quite interesting. And there is a lot of recent research that shows that creatine may support your cognitive function, especially in women experiencing hormonal shifts. And I did say that creatine has been researched quite a lot. We often experience brain fog, so I don't know about you, but anything that can help my brain work better, I am totally here for that. It's involved in the cellular energy production in the brain, so it means it could help with mental clarity, like processing speed, and even reducing feelings of depression and fatigue. And these are common symptoms that we experience. And there are some studies that even suggest that creatine can have a mild antidepressant effect, especially in women with low estrogen. So again, that sounds good to me. But remember, the information that I'm sharing with you is information that I have done my own research on, but it does not replace the knowledge of your medical practitioner. So if you have any concerns, you need to have a conversation with them as well. Okay, let's talk about bone health. Now, creatine isn't a replacement for calcium or vitamin D, but it does have a synergistic effect when combined with resistance training. It can help maintain or even increase bone mineral density over time, which again is crucial because we know as we age and our estrogen levels drop, this can cause our bones to become weaker. We're more at risk of things like osteoporosis. So it can play a role in helping to keep our bones stronger. And that protection is really, really key as we age and we move into menopause. And osteoporosis really is something to take quite seriously. It's one of the reasons for me why I've personally do take HRT, because estrogen is linked to bone density, and having strong bones, having good muscle strength, like all of those things are going to be important as you age, so that you can still be active, so that you're less likely to have injuries and falls and things like that. So it's definitely worth something doing your own research on as well. Okay, number 4, recovery and energy. Now, if you are feeling a bit drained after your workouts and you are feeling like you've got less energy, creatine actually might help with that too. It helps to replenish something called ATP, which is the body's quick energy currency. And that was what is found in your muscles. So you may notice that after a workout, if you are using creatine, you might notice improved recovery, less fatigue, and perhaps even better endurance as well. And if you're feeling a bit run down by daily life and not just your workouts, creatine might actually help to give you a bit of a lift as well. So really great benefits, 4 really kind of like key benefits that are really worth taking seriously. But I think the question we often have is it safe? Is it worth it? And I think that's a really fair question. But as I've mentioned earlier in the episode, creatine is actually one of the most studied supplements on the planet. It's one of the most widely used, and it is considered safe, effective, and well tolerated by most people when taken in its recommended doses. So for most people, that's around 3 to 5 grams per day. You might often hear this term like creatine loading, but you don't really need to worry about that. It's sort of an old school gym culture term. It is believed that it doesn't cause bloating or water retention in your face or your limbs. Perhaps just a bit more water is actually stored inside your muscle cells, which is actually a good thing. And of course, it's really important, as I mentioned earlier, to check with your doctor, your GP, your healthcare provider, especially if you have any kidney issues or other conditions. So let's just kind of like wrap it up and sort of summarize some of my final thoughts around creatine. So it isn't just a supplement for like the bros in the gym. And the reason I laugh about this is because, and I'm sure I've told this story before on the podcast. So when I was at one of the gyms a few years ago, I was sitting in the coffee shop afterwards with my daughter, and there was a guy who was at the the coffee station ordering a coffee, and he got himself his coffee, and then he stood just along the counter, got his big, he had this big bag, obviously like his gym bag. He pulled out from his gym bag like this enormous tub of whey protein and slammed it on the top of the counter, and you can just imagine, there's everybody watching this guy, this bodybuilder kind of guy, necking back his protein shakes. So creatine, we often associate it with guys like that, but it isn't just for them. It is really, really helpful for us as women, and particularly as perimenopausal women. It's research backed, and if you actually Googled creatine benefits, anything like that, you're going to find so much information. It's really, really well researched. It's body supporting, it's brain boosting. It's a supplement that can be especially helpful for perimenopausal women, and whether it's strength training, chasing after your kids, running your business, or just trying to feel a little bit like you again, which I think so many of us can actually relate to. I am really here for anything that is going to help me to feel more like myself again. And creatine really can. And it is also an affordable supplement. It's really easy to incorporate it into your day-to-day life. It's not going to cost you a fortune, and it comes in a lot of different formats. So you can have it in a powder that you add into smoothies. I actually have like these like blueberry flavor gummies. They're quite popular. I know a lot of women actually take them in a gummy form, which is quite fun. It kind of tastes like candy, no sugar in them. You can get them all over. You can get it in health food stores. You can get them online from Amazon as well. They're really sort of easy to find. Just check the ingredients. You're looking for like a 3 to 5 gram dose each day. You don't need to be loading as some of these supplements suggest. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. If you did find the episode helpful, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Maybe share the podcast with a friend. Leave a quick review, because it really does help more women to find this podcast and the information that we're sharing. And if you do try creatine or you're thinking about it, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Send me a message over on Instagram perhaps, or shoot me over an email. You can find my email address linked in the show notes through my website. And until next time, stay strong and take good care of yourself. I look forward to connecting with you in the next episode.